Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I am going to school to become a special education teacher. So I'll be certified to teach kindergarten through 12th grade in special education, as well as a minor in early childhood education. So that's being able to teach preschool, or even younger than that, and I think up to, I want to say, 3rd grade. So I'm really excited to have quite the range in what I would be able to do. I don't really have an ideal age. I actually have worked a lot with young kids with exceptionalities, and I've worked a lot with like 17 to 21-year-olds with exceptionalities. So I haven't really experienced, elementary, high school, middle school age. So maybe that's my ideal one. I just don't know yet. So I'm excited to figure that out as I continue to go in this program. I'm excited for this class because I think it will really teach me how to make a more inclusive environment culturally and just differences in general, and how to model respectable behavior and model how to embrace those differences, which I think is so important, especially in terms of special education and people with exceptionalities, but also in race and sexual orientation and beliefs and all of the socioeconomic backgrounds and all that. And I think that's really important to learn how to do. And I think as teachers, we have a great impact on modeling that behavior. I think the hardest thing about this class will just be reflecting and being really honest with yourself and what you have held tight, whether you are aware of it or not, in what, like, in beliefs, and that they may have not been the most healthy and they may have not been the most correct view of people. And I think just that's really hard to be honest and aware of where you're struggling and to actually do something about it, which I think this class will open that door a little bit. I think that Cesar Chavez, his quote is really awesome. I totally agree that school is much more than head knowledge, like we've talked about in class. It's also heart knowledge, and it's also our opportunity to show these students how awesome and how great and how good they are, no matter what they believe about themselves, but also no matter what the external forces are that are telling him and are up against them. I think that we can teach and educate and interact in a way that starts to continue to bring out the goodness and the just the greatness of each individual. And I think that's really what is important for school. And for the charts, I hate to say that I wasn't super surprised, and I mean that also shows me that that's something that that's a bias I hold, and I need to kind of figure that out, I guess. And so for the graduation rate, I just thought about like all of the factors that could go into why somebody would drop out. Like, what if they had to drop out to take care of their family and to have another income so they don't have their house foreclosed, and so they can make sure their little siblings have food on their table, or they had to take care of the young ones while mom and dad, or mom or dad, worked 5 jobs or 3 jobs, or however many, to provide for their family, or they got in the wrong crowds and never believed in themselves to graduate, and just so many factors, or they just never got the grades, and that goes along with just the lack of resources and time that a lot of these families have due to just what they actually have to do to survive. And I think a lot of the time white families have the resources to actually take a step back and take the time to do the homework, to study well, to get a tutor. And that's usually, that's what leads to better grades and higher dropout rate. And there's also a lot of different expectations, I think, which as we all know, students are very malleable in what we expect of them. If we expect nothing, they're going to give us nothing. And if we expect a lot, most of the time they will, because somebody's believing in them. And I think for the math chart, and I was looking at the Asian percentage, and I think culturally, things like doctors and lawyers and those very successful jobs are very expected, I think, in their culture, and I think that math and science they're obviously the base for those, and they need to succeed in order to meet those expectations and to get that job or get into the right school and to be thought of as, successful within their family or their culture, which makes sense. And I think then math is a difficult subject, and I needed a lot of tutoring, and I needed a lot of extra time on my homework and to reread and to go and talk to the teachers, and honestly somebody to believe in me that I could do it. And I think a lot of the time those of non-white don't get that, and it totally makes sense why they wouldn't succeed well in that. And I also think for the discipline one is kind of the scariest for me, and I think that a lot of teachers just, what am I trying to say? They already have in their head of why these individuals are lashing out, and so if they lash out once, it's the end of the world, and they need to be disciplined, and they need to be taught a lesson, quote unquote, in a really harsh way, because that's how they think that they'll learn and what they need, versus a lot of time they're gentle and graceful with white individuals. And I think it also, our hidden biases, or maybe we're aware of them, I don't know, in that sense, are leading us to have that inappropriate behavior as a teacher, to discipline more and to discipline even more intense than what is deserved just based on their color. So, yep.